Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear student and viewers, today we are going to be discuss module 4 data analysis process step 9 hypothesis testing. As you know that research process for the basic and applied research, a step 6 scientific research design. Here you have seen a framework of scientific research design. Scientific research design have a main three parts: detail of study, measurement and data analysis. But today we are going to be discuss the three number elements of data analysis. Before that we have already discussed field for data, goodness of data and hypothesis testing we have going to be discussed. And here you have seen a data analysis process. Data analysis process have a main three element as we have already discussed: field for data, goodness of data and hypothesis testing. And hypothesis testing basically is the hypothesis testing is used to evaluate the result from the research study in which the researcher have decided if it select a population, and then after the selection a population they have take a sample from a population. A sample is selected from the populations and the treatment is administered to the sample. After treatment the individual in the sample are measured by the researcher. And steps in hypothesis testing, the important steps are given here which are very important for the researchers and for viewers and students to mean a conceptualized hypothesis testing process. Data, state of hypothesis, select the test and statistics and calculate the test statistic. After calculate the statistics, we take the statistical decision making. On the basis, do not reject the hypothesis and reject the hypothesis. And basically we have also take a broader classification of hypothesis testing. Hypothesis testing basically we take the test of hypothesis on the basis of degree of association and degree of differences. And both are degree of association and degree of differences we have calculated on the mean and proportion. And step 1, that is the important steps for starting the hypothesis testing: formulate the hypothesis. A null hypothesis is the statement of the status and no difference, no effect if the null hypothesis is not rejected. No changes will be made. An alternative hypothesis is a one in which some differences or effect is expected. A null hypothesis refers to the specific value of the population. Parameters are given here. You can see here. Note a sample of statistic. Step 2, select the appropriate test. The test statistic measures how close to the sample as come to the null hypothesis. The test statistic often follow as well known as distribution, normal t-test and chi-square. In our example, z statistic which follows the standard normal distribution would be appropriate. Here you have seen a formula of z-test standard deviations. Step 3, choose a level of significance. Type 1 error and type 2 error is the most important for taking the hypothesis testing. Occurs if the null hypothesis is rejected when it is effect true. The probability of the type 1 error alpha is also called a level of significance. And type 2 error occurs if the null hypothesis is not rejected when it is fact the false. The probability of the type 2 error is denoted by beta. Unlikely alpha, which is specified for the researcher, and the magnitude of the beta depends on the actual value of the population and parameter per proportion. But it is a necessity to balance the two types of error. Step 4, collect data and calculate the test statistic. The required data are collected and value of the test statistic computed. In our example here, 30 people were surveyed and 17 are shopped on internet, and the value of the sample proportion is p value is 17 over 30, and we got the value of the p is the 0.567. The value of the p is a 0.089. Step 5, determine the probability and the value and critical value using the standard normal tables. We have used in this studies in this lecture for examples. For example, here we have already discussed the various tables, but with the shortage of time we take the only examples of one tables. There are also be given in the appendix of the study. And the areas of the right of the calculation of the z-test, the shaped area between 0 and 1.88 is 0.46. Therefore, the area to right 1.88 is 0.5 to 0.4699 equal to 0.0301. Thus, the p-value is 0.0301 is this accepted value, and the alternative critical value of the z called z alpha 1, which will have the area to right side the critical value of the alpha 0.05, is the between 1.65 and 1.65. thus the z alpha is 1.645. Notice that determining the critical value of the test statistic, the area to write the critical value is the either alpha and alpha over 2. It is the alpha for the one tail test and alpha 2 is the for two tail test. Basically, we calculate the p value with the single t test and one pair test and unpaired test. Depends on the researchers. But the step 6 and 7 compare to the probability and make the decision making. If the prob associated with the calculated value of the test statistic for this problem less than the level of the significance of alpha, null hypothesis is rejected. In case the p value is 0.0301, this is the less than the level of significance of alpha. For example, we are also called a p value denoted by alpha is 0.05. Hence, the null hypothesis is rejected. If the value is greater than 0.05, it means the level of significance is not good. Alternative, if the calculated the value of the test statistic is greater than the critical value of the test statistics, the null hypothesis is rejected. Steps 8, the market research and conclusion. Finally, when we have take all the stuff formulating the hypothesis testing, we take the statistical test and we can find out the significance levels value of p, then the researcher have decided the market research according to the probe of the marketing problem and the business problem. The conclusion reached by the hypothesis testing must be expressed in the term of business research and marketing research problem. In our example, we conclude there is the evidence that the proportion of the internet user who shop via the internet significantly greater than 0.40. Hence, the department store and introduce the new internet shopping services. Here we take the decision making according to our statistical result. That's all about basically in this videos, in this lecture, our purpose is to learn about what is the hypothesis and what are the important topics and steps we have taken during the hypothesis testing. I hope you have learned a lot of things from today lecture. Inshallah, we will be discuss our next topic in next video. Take care.